Hello there. Welcome to the latest episode of the Data Radio Show, episode 14. We've got a packed one for you today with interviews, throwbacks, and, well, a little bit of news about where you can find us. All that and more coming up right now. Hey, welcome to the 14th episode of the Data Radio Show. We've got a really packed one for you today because we've got the news, but we've also got a couple of really fascinating things to look at around WWDVC. For those of you that don't know, this is a big conference that gets held in Stowe, Vermont every year for the world of Data Vault. It's hosted by the inventor of Data Vault, Dan Linstedt. So our interview this week is actually going to be with Tim Kirshke from Scale3, who's over there at the moment, who's been taking part in the conference and has a little bit of a presentation to do there, as well as a throwback interview with Dan from last year's conference as well, just to get an idea as to what it's all about. So it's a really fascinating one to sit down and look at if you've never dealt with Data Vault, for example, or if you're new to the concept of Data Vault. But there's also a whole bunch of other stuff coming through, like the news, which we'll be going to in a second. But before that, I just wanted to let you know about a little change that we've done to how you can find us. I mean, it is Star Wars week, so I should probably go something along the lines of, these are the podcasts you're looking for. But the reality is it's not that complicated. You see, we've uploaded all of our podcast versions to our YouTube page. That's still available wherever else you get your podcasts from. But you can now access all the podcasts and video content through our page on YouTube. And it's super easy to find. Like if you're watching the video right now, you've probably got a link, to be fair. So check it out if you want to. There's some great things to sit down and listen to from our archives. The archives are all there and they go back a few years. And there's some really fascinating, informative stuff from a whole range of experts, as well as case studies and information for everybody. So make sure you go and check that out on our YouTube page. But before that, how about we go and check out what's been making news this week around the world? NVIDIA has introduced the Blackwell GPU, an AI superchip that's 10 to 100 times faster than previous models. It features 6 innovative technologies for advanced AI training and real-time inference. The Blackwell GPU is available only at the end of the year, though, through Hyperstack, which offers early access to the Hyperstack Next-Gen cloud service. For more information on this, you can check out the link in the bio below. In regulatory news, the EU AI Act will soon be in effect, and organisations must comply by understanding the Act, conducting risk assessments, developing compliance programs, and collaborating with stakeholders to avoid substantial fines and reputational damage. The Act seeks to balance innovation with protecting fundamental rights, and organisations must assess their AI systems, implement ethical guidelines, enhance data governance, and train employees to be in compliance. The Act also requires ongoing monitoring to adapt to evolving AI landscapes and uses. You can check out the link in the bio for more details on this important piece of compliance legislation. Salesforce announced that the Salesforce Zero Copy Partner Network, a global ecosystem of technology and solution providers building secure bidirectional zero copy integrations with Salesforce Data Cloud so that data can be actioned across the Salesforce Einstein 1 platform. Salesforce also unveiled innovations including new zero-copy support for open data lakes and lakehouses utilizing the Apache Iceberg open table format, as well as added zero-copy support for ISV partners developing data kits to distribute their valuable data sets to Data Cloud customers. In today's digital landscape, companies struggle with islands of data spread across various systems, said Brian Millam, President and Chief Operating Officer at Salesforce. He went on to say, with this global ecosystem of partners, companies can access all of their data no matter where it resides, and unlock the power of all that data within Salesforce, creating more personalized customer interactions, establishing a foundation for trusted AI in less time and at lower cost. Right, that's it for the news this week. Don't forget to check out in the bio below for links to all of these articles, or you can jump over to the Data Vault Innovators community, which is completely free to join. There'll be links over there as well. Also, a quick word from our sponsor for the news this week. It's Warescape. Warescape helps IT organizations leverage automation to design, develop, deploy, and operate data infrastructure faster. More than 1,200 customers worldwide rely on Warescape automation to eliminate hand coding and other repetitive, time-intensive tasks to deliver data warehouses, vaults, lakes, and marts in days or weeks rather than months or years. Warescape has global operations in the US, the UK, Singapore, and Aotearoa, New Zealand, and can be found online at wescape.com. Automation is actually a really fascinating topic as well for our guest that we've got coming up next, along with the idea of being able to work remotely. Both topics which we sort of touched on in the news there. Tim Kirshke is a BI consultant with Scalefree, who has a bit of experience as well with data warehousing and data vaults. So, really fascinating to sit down and have a chance to chat to him. He's actually currently in Vermont in the United States, where he's attending WWDVC, the Worldwide Data Vault Conference, put on by Data Vault founder Dan Linstedt. So I figured, great time now to jump over, see how the conference is going, learn a little bit more about that, and also a little bit more about Tim himself. Tim, thank you very much for joining me. I know that you're sitting in Vermont at the moment for WWDVC. How are things going?
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm in Vermont attending the WWDVC. I'm going to go back right after this call. Things are going great. Second day of conference, three more to come. All good so far.
How come you haven't been in the office for the last 8 months? Just
I
working
was
from
on a
home?
Europe trip. Yes,
Okay.
I basically I decreased my hours from 40 hours a week to 20 hours a week. My
Mhm.
girlfriend and I, we quit our apartment and we just traveled through Europe for 8 months. And this time is now over. On 1st of June, I'm going to increase again to 40 hours, and we already have a new flat. So that's why I haven't been to the office.
That makes a lot of sense. Have you enjoyed the process of doing the tour and still been able to
Yes,
work?
it was amazing. So what we did was we went to one location. So it was, for example, we started in France, and we spent 4 weeks at the same Airbnb because that's the only way we were able to afford it. And then like 3 to 4 days of work. We both worked just remotely. Um, And then you basically have 3 to 4 days of weekend where you can explore the surroundings. It was amazing. Yeah, it was a great time.
It sounds like it. What made you decide to do that?
Oh, and I graduated I did my bachelor's degree in 2022, in the beginning of 2022. And I was already working at Scalefree as a working student. And when I finished, I said, or I was at the decision whether I should do a master degrees or not. And then I said, no, I don't really want to continue studying. And then I said, okay, I'm going to work at Scalefree as a regular consultant now for a year, and I'm going to then do my master. And then when it was time, beginning of 2023, was time to apply for a master. I was thinking, yeah, I'm still not, I still don't want to study. Um, but initially, I wanted to see some parts of Europe, and I would have done a Erasmus semester anyway if I would have done my master.
Mhm.
And then my girlfriend and I were just saying, why don't we just do the traveling part and skip the studying part? So I asked if it's okay to just work remotely for a couple of months, and I was in a long-term client project, and we asked there because they were the final decision makers, and they said no problem. You work via virtual machine anyway. You're not in our office anyway, so it doesn't really matter from where you are accessing that virtual machine.
That's really cool and very flexible. I love hearing about that kind of flexibility. It's the kind of thing that I think most people aspire to these days, is to be able to get out and about and still work and earn money at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah, I really enjoyed it. But I'm also glad to now have a fixed residence as well, and coming back to the office because I love our office.
Oh yeah. Well, what was your favorite place to visit?
Hard to say, and many people ask me that. So we've been in total to France, Spain, Portugal, and then Italy, Greece, and Croatia. And every little thing was different about all those things. So, for example, in Spain, we had an apartment. We couldn't do anything really because it was surrounded by agriculture.
Mhm.
But the apartment was directly at the beach. So, and the weather was perfect. It was October, but still more than 20 degrees Celsius. So every day at like 2 p.m. we finished work and we just went to the beach. And that was really amazing, but it was something completely different than, for example, in France. We've been to the Brittany, where we were hiking a lot. The nature was great. It was two completely different things. Both were completely amazing. It's hard to say what was my favorite destination, but I think it was Greece because we didn't have any expectations to Greece. It was Greece mainland. and we were completely blasted. It was February. It was already 20 degrees. We had a nice apartment at the seafront. The people are very friendly. The food was amazing, and I think it all comes with the expectations. So we both haven't been to Greece mainland before. We had no expectations, and we were completely blasted.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like such a great thing to do. Um, uh, Looking back at when you started in this industry, what sort of advice would you give yourself now if you were to talk to yourself back then?
That's a tough question. Many people that start, we have a lot of people starting at Scale Free, and many people ask that question. I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is not think about stuff too long, especially if it comes to trying to figure out something new. So we have many people that start that want or that start typically with learning Data Vault, for example, and it's all about doing the certification. They visit the 3-day boot camp, and then they want to pass the exam. And I know from myself back then, it's very hard to understand. It's a lot to learn. And it comes much easier if you just implement or try to implement a data vault in a sample environment. So I would say recommendation would be trying to do things rather than trying to figure out things first. There are
I
typically
like that.
no scenarios where you can fail so bad that it's like in the end you shouldn't have tried something.
I like that. I think it's a very good way to put it out there. Where you are at the moment, you're in Vermont for WWDVC. That's kind of a combination of both things, work and travel.
Exactly, yes.
How has the event been so far?
Great. So yesterday it started with, I would say, more business-related presentations. We had a lot of topics, a lot of presentations. We had, for example, a ex-military member giving a speech about leadership. It was not really technical, but everything that he presented about was, I would say, 90% applicable on technical leadership roles. And that was, I think, one of the most memorable presentations so far. Yeah, the people are amazing. It's a lot of people I already know from past conferences, so it's like you have a starting point in conversations that makes it very more easy to network. But in general, it's, I would say, all about the networking. You have, of course, a lot of great presentations, but you also have a lot of time to get to know each other and share the experiences you have. So I love it so far.
How many times have you been before?
Only once,
Okay.
but the faces are memorable. So, and I
Mhm.
know a couple of people from other conferences. So we have our own conference at Scalefree, for example, and some of the people I already met there.
Okay. Has there been, or is there anything on the schedule? Because there's still obviously a couple of days to go when we're recording this. Anything that jumps out that you're really keen to learn more about?
So on the one hand side, I have an own presentation. I joined Coalesce, the automation tool Coalesce, in a hands-on session because we developed together with them a package, a data vault package for Coalesce, and I'm gonna like basically introduce the package and then be there for questions during the hands-on session. That's the one I'm happy to join to attend. And the other things, to be honest, I haven't studied the schedule. I'm just gonna sit in because there's only one track, so I can't miss anything. I'm just going to sit in and see what awaits me. But I know that, for example, on Friday, Dan Linstedt himself is going to give like a big update on data vault standards and data vault recommendations. I'm very keen to see what he already teased a bit and that sounded promising.
You know what Dan's like? He is a man of many words. He's very, very verbose when it comes to his presentation. So I'm sure it's going to be very full of information. Um,
Yeah.
do you think, looking at the way that the industry is sort of moving around data management itself, how much of a focus is there on things like artificial intelligence and how data management
Oh,
feeds into that?
it's a big focus. You can see it also in the schedule of this conference. I already heard so much about how AI can leverage building a data vault, for example. And I think you have to adapt. You as a developer, or many developers are fearing that AI might take their jobs. But what I learned already during the past day, it's not going to be AI, but it's going to be people that use AI. So if you're not using AI or you're not leveraging AI to make your work faster and more efficient, then somebody else will. And then your manager, for example, or the person who decides who of you will stay or who will leave, then that person might see, hey, this one person can do the same thing in half the time because that person leverages AI, then I mean the decision is clear. So I think everyone needs to get their hands on the AI tools that are out there and find some ways, and there are a lot of ways how AI can help us. And I mean, there are a lot of repetitive tasks that we have to do, and we don't even like those things in most cases. And that are the things that AI can help us with, right? So it definitely comes more important from, I would say, from day to day.
So obviously, lots of work and lots of travel. What do you do to relax?
So before I left my hometown in Germany, I was playing handball since almost 15, no, it's more, it's 17, 18 years. And I'm super excited to start with handball again when I'm back in Hanover. So that's mainly what I do for relaxing. And besides doing handball in general, I would say exercising. I really like doing exercises, but I really like playing video games. So for me, the first touch point was my Nintendo DS,
Mhm.
playing Mario Kart and stuff like that, Nintendo Wii. And then when I was like a teenager, all of us in school played stuff like Minecraft. I think it all started with Minecraft, then Counter Strike, Call of Duty, all those classic games. But now, I mean, after graduating, most of our gaming with all the school friends, it dissolved. Most of it, not all of it. So I shifted to. I started playing on Xbox. I was a PC gamer all my life, and now I'm playing video games, mainly like role playing games. When I come home and I have some spare time, I like to just quickly turn on the Xbox for 20 minutes. That makes me really relaxing.
Do you find switching from PC to console difficult? Or like just like the physical change in movements and actions and
I actually really enjoyed it. So I started working, I started studying. So I was sitting at the computer all day long. I mean, especially working in consulting and data warehousing, it's like you're on the computer all day. Maybe you're attending a meeting in real life, but since COVID, yeah, especially since COVID, even those meetings are at the computer, right? So then I just stopped playing on my computer, and then at Sunday I decided I do want to play again, but I don't really like to sit on my desk at my desk at home. That's why I got the console, and that's why the change was not. It was like a joy for me. So I don't have to worry about Windows updates, Steam updates. I can just turn on the Xbox and I can directly jump into the game. So it was, I would say, it revived my gaming life.
do you do anything else to relax? Like, do you read at all?
Oh, I read a lot. I think in the past 5 years, I read every single night before I went to bed. I really like read before going to bed or in bed before sleeping. And I mean, I traveled for 8 months, and when laying on the beach, there's nothing better to read a good book. So one of the best investments was a Amazon Kindle like 4 years ago. So that's what I carry everywhere. So I have it with me here in Vermont, of course. I
Who
read
do
it
you
on the
read?
plane. Oh,
What
a
authors do
lot.
you read?
So I like to read science fiction and fantasy stuff. So I think the last thing that I read was the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Hmm.
I really loved it. It was a masterpiece. By the way, I don't know. Do you know it?
I've heard of it. I can't say I've read it, but I know of it. Like it's impressive. Everybody I know
Okay,
is
it's
that
definitely a
really
high recommendation from my side, but you really have to push through. The first book is not that good. So, but you don't have to stop. You should really start with the second, then afterwards. But then it's an amazing series. But I also try to squeeze in some non-fiction books. So right now I'm reading a book. It's called The Trader's Game. I think it's from an investment trader from London working at the Citibank, telling his life from. I think it started in 2007, right before the financial crisis hit. And he tells the story about how he became the world's most successful trader. It's a really good insight into the industry, which I found really interesting. Yeah. So I can only read one book at a time. I heard that many people read like 2 or 3 books at the same time, but I can't. So I just switch after each book. I switch the genre. So if I, for example, Dark Tower was 7 books, I think. After each of the books, I squeezed in one non-fiction book.
It's like a palate cleanser. Just,
Yeah,
reset the brain a little bit between
really
genres.
true. Yeah.
And I'm guessing you mentioned Kindle, so you're more of an e-reader than a book reader, like paper book reader?
Yes, I have almost no books at all anymore. So we sold a lot of stuff before moving out of our apartment. I kept, like, I would say it's a handful, 10 to 15 books, which I want to keep. Something like a collector's edition of Lord of the Rings, something like this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I used to like to buy some cheap used book because it's just super cheap to get some books. But now I value more to not have all the physical books and not have to carry all those books than saving the environment in this case. I mean, a digital book save the environment as well, but saving a few bucks as well. I mean, a digital book typically is like still 15 euros, 15 bucks, and you can get the same book used in a physical edition for 2 euros. But I I love to have just my ebook reader with all the books. Yeah.
What about movies, TV shows? Do you get much of a chance to sit down and watch, or you're traveling so much at the moment that you don't really get a chance to invest in them?
I mean, I enjoy the in-flight entertainment, so I just started on
Mm.
my past flight. I started The Creator, which is a movie about some AI that turned violent. It's quite recent. It's really good. I also like watching TVs and movies. So my favorite series is still Game of Thrones.
Oh,
And
yes.
we've been to Croatia, so we made a weekend trip to Dubrovnik, and we had a Game of Thrones inspired tour where they showed us the filming locations, which was really awesome. Um, And I think, I mean, I'm of a Gen Z, so regular TV is not on my list. And if I want to watch TV, it's always some kind of Netflix show or whatever comes into the streaming providers of choice.
What was the filming locations for Game of Thrones like? Like, can you sit there and it looks like you're in Game of Thrones, or is there sort of a lot of set dressing and that they mimic it up quite a bit?
Um, I would say in Dubrovnik, it really feels like Game of Thrones because it has the characteristic colors of, for example, King's Landing was filmed
Mhm.
there a lot. But I mean, I only watched it twice, the series, so I'm not a die-hard fan who recognizes every scene. So I guess if I would just run around the city, I wouldn't be able to pin specific scenes to a specific spot. But with our guide, he had like photographs of the scenes, and he was like, "Here, this is the scene. You can see everything from that scene in the background in the nature." Then it was like really matching. But then
See,
he also told us that at some point, Croatia just raised the prices for filming to such a high price that they just recreated everything in the studio in the US. So only
that's
season
really
1 and
cool.
2, I think, were filmed in Croatia.
Oh my god! See, we have Lord of the Rings tours here because that was the big series that was made here, and you can do a full walk around Hobbiton. The actual
Yeah.
Hobbiton it's still in place. My coffee cup that I'm using today, I got from Hobbiton, from the Green
Oh,
Dragon
nice.
itself. Like it's beautiful. It's stunning just walking around there. I saw a video yesterday, I think it was, about having a wedding there and just how much it costs. And I'm just like, no, not going to get married there, but it looks amazing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a beautiful
definitely on
thing.
my bucket list. I've never been to Australia
Oh,
before, but I
it
really
is
want to go.
absolutely stunning. And they've just started doing Airbnbs there.
In the Hobbit holes.
Yeah, they've actually built one out as an Airbnb that you can stay in and for the night. And like even things like the food and stuff like that on the table, it's all fake and it's all chained to the table, but you can still do like an overnight stay there. And I'm just like, I kind of want to do that.
Yes,
Like,
same. Sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to go to. And then like we've certainly made a lot out of Lord of the Rings here. Like it's everywhere. It's it's very strange. Like my parents actually don't live far from Weathertop from the movies, and the way they
Oh,
built
wow.
that
Okay.
was it's like an actual outdoor location. But the stuff that you saw in the film with the wraiths and Frodo, that was all
Yeah.
done in the studio, and they've combined the two digitally. So when you drive past it, it just looks like a funny hill, but there's a little sign there that's Weathertop, come and check it out, sort of thing. It's yeah. Lots of fun stuff around the place for Lord of the Rings here.
Yeah, so doing this tour in Croatia, I learned a bit about movie shooting, and it really impressed me how hybrid everything is. So how they combine the nature, the things that are actually there, combining that with CGI. It's crazy.
You mean they don't have dragons there?
I haven't seen one, no.
It's probably not a bad thing. They look pretty destructive. Like it's amazing the work that they can do these days. Weta Workshop that does a ton of special effects. They've actually set up two sort of tours for audiences, and it's not focused on Lord of the Rings or anything in particular, but it's about showing you how Weta does things and how
Okay.
they make movie magic. I went through it last year, and I absolutely stunning. Like, there's dinosaur skeletons that aren't real dinosaurs, and there's like the giant throne rooms, and you get to build stuff and make stuff, and it's really cool how they've put it
It
all
was in
together.
Australia or where?
New Zealand,
New Zealand. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that on my bucket list. Sounds good.
yeah, definitely, absolutely. Come on over, I'll show you around. I know a few good bars. It'd be a good place to hang out.
Sounds good. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like plan such a trip for next year. So let's see how that materializes.
It's a good idea. I would say come over in summer because it's absolutely stunning in summer. In winter, it's
Okay.
just kind of cold and miserable, unless you like skiing.
I do. I mean, I was skiing twice, but I like it. But
Um,
I would prefer summer. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely come summer. I'm not a ski fan, so winter is not my favorite time of year. But also, if you're looking at things like, because you can do location tours, a lot of the tours spots in the South Island aren't accessible in winter because you've got snow and stuff like that. But in summer and fall, autumn, you can see an awful lot of stuff. Like you can see Minas Tirith and where they built that, and the
Yes.
spot that they built Minas Tirith was also the spot that they put some other big battle scene that they did, and I think it was Two Towers. So yeah, it all comes together, and we all get paid as New Zealanders every time that we mention Lord of the Rings in any kind of podcast or interview. So I can eat tonight. It'll be great fun.
You can say it
In
5 more
terms
times,
of
maybe, if that helps.
what was that? Sorry,
You can say it 5 more times if that helps.
I'll find a way. I'm actually kind of surprised that Lord of the Rings is one of the few things I don't have in the background. Like it should be something that I have there, but it's something to
True.
add to it later. It'll be fine. Should probably get back to data management since that's what this is kind of about. Do you have any pet peeves in the way that people put together data or the work that you do, like that gets in your way, that could make your life easier?
So what definitely helps is having clear responsibilities in all aspects of what you build in a data project. So in the beginning, have a data owner who can help you and who is responsible for having the proper business definitions, stuff like that. That really helps. And I would say having standards and naming conventions from the beginning on, especially when working in Data Vault. Data Vault is highly standardized, and you can standardize it even further if you have good naming conventions. And if you start a new project or like doing a migration to Data Vault or something like that, I would always start with, or it should be one of the first steps to apply some naming conventions. And it's not that big of a task. You have to define some conventions for naming your tables and views and for naming the columns. That's basically it, but it really helps you in the end. So that's my recommendation. Yeah.
And one final question for you. If people are popping into Vermont at any point in time, what should they do while they're there?
If you're here in winter, I heard it's a great place to ski. So then you should ski, I guess. Um, and then in the other seasons, it's supposed to be good for hiking. Right now, it's the mud season, so all the trails are closed. I heard. And I would say Ben and Jerry's factory for sure. Um, and I think I haven't been to Burlington. Burlington is like where the airport is located. I'm gonna go there on Friday. And there's on Google Maps I saw there's a big lake. So maybe check that one out.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, I want to thank Tim for joining me. I managed to catch him in between the conference in Stowe and beer garden evenings, and I can't argue with beer gardens. I want to go to one right now, actually. But it was a really fascinating thing to sit down and look at his perspective of the event. Last year, Julian Redmond from Ignition, who was one of our earlier guests, he went to the conference over there as well, and it was his first time. He actually organised a whole range of interviews with people that were there, and they're all available now on our YouTube page and as separate podcasts. But one of the interviews that stood out was the interview with Dan Linstedt. Now, for those of you that don't know, Dan's actually the inventor of Data Vault, a data management system. He runs an organization in the United States for Data Vault users called the Data Vault Alliance. And so I thought it was really fascinating to see this conversation between Jules and Dan, where they talk a little bit about community and about the event itself and sort of give you a bit of an overview that really ties in nicely to the chat that we just had with Tim. So here's that interview from last year with Jules's international travel experience.
Okay. All right. We're here at WWDVC with the founder of Data Vault himself, Dan Linstedt.
Hi. Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm tired, but great.
I bet you are. So how's the event been for you?
Oh, it's been awesome. I mean, first time we reached numbers at 150 people. We've been averaging 122. But what's even better is everyone comes back since they love the networking. They love the one track. The presentations this year off the chain.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Or
mean,
as the kids say, off the chisane, right?
correct. I mean, everyone who I've spoken to has commented on the community that this conference has created. So I think that's a credit to you. And so let's talk about some of the highlights. CJ yesterday was amazing.
Yeah, and in case you don't know, CJ Date, he's famous for Cod and Date, right? He worked with Ted Cod. So,
Yeah.
you know, how do you get any higher than that? I don't know. But we loved it, and we're asking him politely to come back next year and give a talk on nulls. So we'll see if that, and that's NULL for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope that pans out.
No, fantastic. So what other highlights from the event for you?
Well, I think there was the guy from Roche, Camille, today talking about methodology.
Yeah.
And he showed some stats that were astounding. I mean, how he put up the charts and mapped out in DB2 methodology, this piece maps out to PMP, this piece to Six Sigma.
Yeah.
That was just eye-opening.
No,
I think everybody got a breath of fresh air on that.
Well, and speaking of them, I guess that leads to the data mesh question. I think Cindy's presentation on data mesh was amazing, just to show the alignment. Did you kind of know that alignment was there?
I did. I have to admit, I've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah.
The Data Vault has a bunch of foundational principles in it.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise when you stand on the shoulders of giants and innovate. Of course, you're going to align, right? There's no doubt about it. But to be honest, I tasked Cindy, as I told the whole conference, right? So full disclosure, I tasked her last year to learn data mesh in depth.
Yeah.
And then to map it. That was her challenge, to map it to Data Vault. Yeah. And she came up with all of that on her own. So, you know, again, it was a beautiful summary presentation of here is Data Vault and here is Data Mesh, and here's how the two align together. You don't do one or the other. That's the message, folks. Hello. And by the way, Zemek herself says you can't implement implementation is outside her wheelhouse. That's what she says, right? And then to have Roche last year present, Paul Rankin from Roche came in and said, we have data mesh, and Roche is huge, you know, and you heard it again from Camille, 400 teams or 400 people or whatever it is globally. They're using Data Vault to implement it. They had Zemek in for consulting on data mesh, and every time they asked her, how do you build it, she said, it's out of my wheelhouse. And so what they did was they got a Data Vault, they married it to data mesh, and they're working through issues like everybody, of course, but it's successful.
Because I mean, this is not easy stuff, so you would expect that. But I mean, from a simple perspective, I can't imagine any other way to achieve mesh without Data Vault. So
that's what I think. And I don't want to toot my own horn because, to be honest, there may be something out there, but we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, when you see something built and you start seeing a success, well, it's clear that's one of the possibilities that can be used.
Yeah.
And so it may not be the only one in 5 years or 3 years, but for today, people are achieving success with Data Vault into the data mesh. So why not give it a go? Right?
No, absolutely. I mean, personally, for me, it's been an amazing event. I just got to have lunch with Bill Inman, so that was pretty cool. So
There you go.
yeah.
I mean,
And I know you and he and Kent are telling some more stories a little bit later.
oh yeah, absolutely. That's going to happen. Bill has a lot more stories than I do, and I love to tell stories of my own as well.
Yeah.
But I've been working with Bill so long, I guess I'm immune to the Bill Inman's here effect. But I love the guy, and that's why he's here. He is my mentor. Just to be clear, he's one of my mentors. Date is one of my mentors, and he didn't know it till lately. But he did help me along the way. By the way, he did have several discussions with me a couple of years ago when I met him.
Yeah.
But this is the community that you feel here.
Yeah.
I always tell everyone, and you've heard this, me announce it. This is one of the reasons why I like to run the conference, because I learn too. We all help each other.
Absolutely.
And we all move forward faster if we help each other. If we're sitting there holding on to our secrets, what good is it?
Yeah.
If we're tooting our own horns, like I just did a minute ago, right? What good is it if we stand up, if we go to a conference and hear a speaker go, well, this is what we did and we succeeded, and here are the metrics of the success. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how did you do that?
You don't learn anything.
You don't learn anything. It's like, good for you. Now, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
And some of those speakers are very, very good, and they've been asked to present that way. So I can't fault the speaker for it, of course. But I don't like the conference layout for that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not what this conference is about. This conference is about, and you've heard this, I asked the presenters, and I'm looking at you guys because I want you to present next year if you've got a story. It's a journey. The presenters they come here to present what they're doing now, warts and all, the challenges they faced that they've succeeded with, plus the challenges they're currently dealing with they haven't solved.
Absolutely.
We want the real story, right? And chances are that someone in this room has either faced the problem and has an answer, or is facing a problem too, and you can sit down and collaborate over what a solution might look like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just powerful to me. Sure. I had a story here, and I'll just tell this one.
Absolutely.
We'll get back to your questions.
No, that's fine.
But I've heard several times over several conferences of these meetings where a speaker will get done and say, we had this challenge, and then somebody walked up out of the audience, and 5 minutes later they had an answer. Like it happened this time.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with this for 6 months, and this other guy came up and handed me this stuff, and it works. It's going to solve my problem. I'm going to go home and build it, right?
I heard that story too.
We get that here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the magic.
There was an example when we're having breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we announced the DVIC going global.
Yeah.
And obviously the affiliation with you guys and sharing content and all those sorts of things. So this audience will get to see this, but we're trying to make everyone get these snippets and get all of this stuff. So thank you for everything you've done and for being part of that and helping us grow a network that gets more people into data.
Absolutely. Anything we can do to enable each other and grow the network and partner up. I mean, I said it a minute ago. We do more, better together.
Absolutely.
Right? And divided we fall, right? So united we stand, divided we fall. Same with the DVIC. So get involved. If you're in Data Vault, go, and you're in the region, get involved in DVIC. If you're worldwide, get involved in DVIC. We work with them, they work with us, we share content. You're going to get it from all channels.
Well, and we did tell the conference audience, to make it clear.
Yeah.
The view is, someone has questions around the standards.
Yeah.
If they want an official answer, then your forums are exactly the place to go.
Absolutely.
And the DVIC is here to share these types of bits of content and help you to convince a business user. So provide case studies and all of those sorts of things. So hopefully that partnership, and we're going to partner with DV North as well, Data Vault
North American User Group.
There you go. Thank you. There's a network of communities, I think, coming together, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Mine too. Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Hey, thanks very much for listening or watching to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show. We're pretty much all wrapped up now, but don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell everybody about us. It's the best way to make sure the algorithms kick in and start sharing the content out organically. At the same time, make sure you go over and check out DVIC, the Data Vault Innovators Community. There's a whole bunch of people over to talk to, including Tim, who's one of our most prolific users. And so you can have a chat to him about his work in data management, his trips around Europe, or why there are no dragons in Croatia. The options are completely unlimited, but it's a great way to connect with other people in the data management industry. Until next week, have a fantastic time, and may the force be with you.